Enhancing leadership capabilities for business leaders is a key factor of economic progress in Africa. And that's what Made in Africa Leadership Conference is seeking to tackle. Wilben Short, the Vice Chairman of Breakfast Club Africa, is here to explain more about this inaugural conference happening in Kigali right now. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
Tell us about Breakfast Club Africa and tell us about the inception of the event.
Breakfast Club Africa is a Pan-African membership organization, and it's aimed at enhancing the leadership capability of Africans.
Right.
So we have, across 6 countries, at the moment 54 members. These are CEOs, all of whom are very intentional about growing their leadership capacity.
Right. So why did you decide to have the inaugural event here in Kigali?
That's obvious. So BCA is about leadership, and Kigali and Rwanda is a living testament of what good leadership does.
Right. You know, recently here in Kigali, we also had the Africa CEO Forum. How does this event differ from that one?
It differs primarily in style. We have a smaller number of people. This event is made by African CEOs for African CEOs. And our style is very much learning from each other.
Right.
And so I'll give you an example. Most of our sessions are quite short. They're groups of about 15 people. And we have someone who will give a presentation quite short, but most of the time we spend more in a workshop format where people are able to really engage.
Right.
Yeah.
So if it's about CEOs learning from each other, it's a small group, as you said, just sort of sharing, I'm assuming, best practices or different things learned in the industry.
Absolutely.
How do you choose who's the speaker? How do different CEOs decide which panels they're going to attend? Or tell us, how does it actually work?
So we looked at people who had a track record, especially of growing businesses in more than one country. And there are some amazing stories of that. People like, TAF Global, who's a real estate property developer. People like Cyril Nkonju, who has been talking about developing his educational schools business.
Right.
And we've also looked to get a representation from across the continent. So we have people from West, East, and Southern Africa. We haven't hit Northern Africa yet, but it's only a matter of time.
Right.
And people just choose by their areas of interest. That's
sure.
Yeah.
So what do you hope to get out of the conference? What do you hope that people will walk away with?
Several. Number one is just an increased belief that not only is leadership at the heart of the success for Africa and to make Africa really the continent of the 21st century,
right,
but also that destiny lies in the hands of Africans, and that we can do this. We have all the resources, we have the intellectual horsepower, and we just need to get together. We need to network better. We need to learn from each other right across the continent, and not have it's not that the political boundaries should not stop us from coming together for Mama Africa.
Right. One of the things that we've seen in the communication from Breakfast Club is that the statistic of 1.1 billion people of working age by 2040.
That's right.
How do you plan to contribute to this number?
So, every organization succeeds on good leadership. And what we are expecting is that CEOs will grow their businesses. And growing not only in their own countries, but in other countries as well. We grow more businesses, we create more jobs.
Right, right.
Right.
Throughout the years, we've seen in some of the biggest corporations across Africa, a lot of times leaders brought in from other countries, of course, for experience, or from other continents, sorry, because of their experience to sort of help with, I suppose, elevating the companies here. Do you see that as still being a trend in the years to come, or through this event and through the Breakfast Club, do you think that that's going to be something that we're going to be seeing less of?
Absolutely. I think not only we will see less of that, I actually dream for when the reverse is also happening.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. That, you know, through African leaders, we'll be actually going to other countries. And actually, it's beginning to happen, but we like to see more of that. In fact, my dream is that you will have several African multinationals. So when you talk about the head office, you wouldn't say it's registered, it's in Washington or London. You'd say it's that multinational company headquartered in Accra or Kigali.
Right. You know, we see a lot of times these big companies across Africa sort of, when they're growing, you know, we've seen, smaller companies trying to grow and a lot of times facing roadblocks that have a lot to do with regulations, etc. You know, with a group like this, powerful people coming from different countries across the continent, in a conference like this, do we sometimes see resolutions happening or different deals being made, things that can alleviate? Because right now we're seeing a lot of initiatives like the Free Trade Area, SATM, things that are trying to sort of bring the continent closer together and make things easier to work. Do we see anything happening like that in the conference? Have we seen anything like that happening yesterday?
Yesterday evening, I was part of a group of 14 people, and we had what we called a needs and leads session. And the way it works is very simple. Somebody puts up their hand and they say, I have a need. And I'll give you one example. There was a company in Malawi, and the CEO said, you know, I have a need for a chief technology officer. And the lady from Ghana said, I know the right person. Now, just imagine what chance there would have been for the CEO from Malawi to access that information,
right,
other than through this. In fact, in my group, every single need that was raised was either met there or there was somebody who said, yeah, I will take this, and I'm sure I can help you meet that need.
Right.
These are African CEOs helping African CEOs.
So it's more than just coming together and discussing best practices or different ways of doing business. It's actually about doing business at the conference. It's
doing business. It's getting us to believe even more that we can do business, bigger business, that we can do business across our borders.
Right.
Right. Absolutely. And learning from those, you know, who have made some mistakes and just getting the best of Africa's experience being shared by Africans for Africans.
Right. So this is the inaugural event, of course, but what kind of events or what other activities does Breakfast Club take part in throughout the year?
Well, in every country that Breakfast Club Africa operates, we have a group of up to somewhere between 8 to 15 people who meet on a monthly basis. And at the monthly meeting, they actually do things that are very similar to what we've been doing at this conference. We do the same peer learning and peer problem solving. Right. So a CEO will come up with a particular problem, and the rest of us would hang heads together. Usually somebody has experienced that before.
Right.
We also will have guest speakers who will speak on a particular topic of interest.
Right.
In between the monthly session, we have executive coaches.
Right.
And every member meets with his or her executive coach for at least 1 hour each month. It's becoming very much recognized right around the world.
Right.
That executive coaching really does help leaders to grow.
Wow. So it's about facilitating these leaders to get together and be their best selves and be the best leaders they can be.
Absolutely.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for joining us. It's exciting to have the Breakfast Club on Power Lunch. I think that's just poetic justice.
Makeda, it's been my pleasure too.
Thanks
Thank you
so much.